What's up, you guys? Thanks as always for tuning in to the Drew Deeks channel. Gonna go with a one taker today because I don't got a ton of time, but that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of great stuff to talk about today, especially after we just heard from Kent Hughes, his press conference at the midway point of the season for the Montreal Canadiens. And there was some stuff that we learned from it, including the fact that Juraj Slafkovsky likely going to miss the remainder of the season. And you know what? It's a one taker. I would normally do this in a edited fashion, but I got Slav's jersey right here, and you know what? I doubted you for a while, buddy. And you know what? Not everybody was sure if we should send you to the AHL, but apparently Kent and the bunch said that, you know what? That wasn't the best move, so we're going to miss you, buddy. We're going to miss you. Horrible acting, I know. But the point being that there was a lot to glean from this Kent Hughes press conference. But you know what? Before we even talk about that, let's just talk about the play of the Montreal Canadiens so far this season really, really quickly. And 45 games in. So we're 45 games into the season. The Canadiens are 26th in the league right now. If you look at the overall picture, they are last in the Atlantic Division, and they are second last in the Eastern Conference. So that's where they stand right now. Now, they're also on a 2-game winning streak, just coming off of wins against the New York Rangers and against the Winnipeg Jets last night, where we've seen some improved play from some players. Like I said, this is not going to be edited, so I try not to talk fast, but I do. So we've seen some improved play, especially from first star of the game last night, Justin Barron. Guys, we talk about the Laval experiment and whether it would have worked for Slav or not. Well, clearly it worked for Justin Barron, as he actually needed some development time. I felt he didn't look ready at the beginning of this season, and Justin Barron has made strides as of late, just much better defensively. The Canadiens in general have just played tighter defensively in their own end, and that's a great sign for them. But also Justin Barron getting some assists on the board. His parents were in attendance. He was playing against his brother last night versus Winnipeg. A great storyline there. Happy to see some progress for Justin Barron. All right, we're going to jump right into Sam Montembeault. Kent Hughes also had a very interesting comment on the future of Sam Montembeault today in his press conference. And that simply was that they have no interest in trading Samuel Montembeault. They see him as part of the future with the Montreal Canadiens. And the more Sam's playing lately, I think he's slowly building belief amongst the Habs fan base that he could potentially be, if not the number one guy. He's getting a lot closer. He's certainly got the reins right now with Jake Allen out with injury, and obviously we know Carey Price out with injury. So let's quickly jump into the injury situation for the Canadiens. And as I just mentioned, Sam Montembeault, very good possibility that he could be a number one guy. But I mean, if you look at this list right now in the infirmary for the Canadiens, Jake Allen, Carey Price, Caden Gooley, Paul Byron. Does anyone forget we had Paul Byron still? Poor guy. Brendan Gallagher, Juraj Slafkovsky, Yoel Armia, Jake Evans, Jonathan Drouin, Sean Monahan. This list is so long. Is Jake Evans? Yes, Jake Evans is on there. That list is crazy long, and it's kind of the one thing I like that Hughes said is that they are trying to find a healthy balance between building a positive culture in the room and also trying to get a good draft pick. That's one of the first things Hughes said today in his press conference. So with these injuries, it's kind of the only way really to let it sort of fall into place in terms of where they're going to end up in the draft lottery this year. But they're not sacrificing, not playing harder, not competing, although some nights fans will argue they're not competing. Listen to the Bell Center last night. If you listen to the Bell Center fans last night again in that Winnipeg Jets game, just as the Canadiens are getting scoring chances before Evgeny Dadonov went off and got himself 2 goals in that game, the Canadiens fans were into it, and they just want to see effort, and they know where the Canadiens are at in the standings. So really, I mean, this is the time to embrace what the Canadiens are trying to do. They're going to try to get a good lottery pick, and they're also still going to try to build a decent culture and just get that team game cultivated as they go forward. So what else did we learn from Kent Hughes? Well, we heard a lot more on Slafkovsky, right? So we heard the fact that they've been talking back and forth as a management group all throughout this season. The fans aren't the only ones who have been watching the Canadiens play. And they felt that with the confidence that Slafkovsky has, the humble confidence, he really, really wanted to learn at this level. He's the first overall pick. Let's not forget that. He's 18 years old. He hasn't even come close to filling out his full frame yet. I've been back and forth about whether or not Slafkovsky should go to Laval. I still don't know, and Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon and the whole Canadiens brass don't know themselves fully either. They could be wrong, as Hughes said. But what they felt was at this point of the season, they didn't feel like sending him down was going to help his development, because it's not all about results. It's not all about points. So, or production, in other words, is how Kent Hughes put it. So if Slav would have went down and just got a bunch of points as expected or didn't, then it could have hindered his development more, maybe. But the point being, though, is that at this point, Slav is possibly out for the rest of the season, and him staying in the NHL, getting as many games under his belt as he did. I don't have the exact number in front of me right this second, but he's stuck with the club, and he just kind of is learning, right? And this is a rebuilding season, so it's a good time to be able to learn. If the Canadiens were a contender or even a playoff contender right now, Slafkovsky probably would have been in Laval. You got to consider where they're at. So this was an opportunity for him to learn and continue learning in a situation that made sense. The Canadiens are rebuilding, so they can afford to have him learn, especially the fact that he desperately wanted to learn, and they saw some things that were progressive from him. He would have a bad mistake in a game, and it wouldn't carry over to the next game. So that's really positive for Slav. As far as the rest of the way goes, with the Canadiens, trade bait, if you want to get into trade bait for a second here, the three biggest trade chips the Montreal Canadiens have right now, to me, are Joel Edmondson, Sean Monahan, and Josh Anderson. Kent Hughes even said that since he's got to the Canadiens as GM, nobody's called them more about Josh Anderson, or no player has drawn more attention for a possible trade scenario than Josh Anderson has. Nobody's been able to pluck him away yet because the right deal just still hasn't been there. But a lot of calls on Joel Edmondson. He mentioned how they told Ben Sherratt last year that they were going to trade him. It was going to happen. But have they said that to Eddie yet? We don't know. We do know for sure there's going to be interest. It's very likely that he will be gone at the deadline. When it comes to Sean Monahan, and the great revelation he was at the beginning of the season, and the great hockey that he's given us so far, if he's injured, he won't be tradable. So that's where it comes down to that situation. And they're limited as to what they can do. They won't be able to trade Monahan if he's hurt. So if he does get healthy, and there is still lots of time between now and March 3rd at the trade deadline, they will look at moving Sean Monahan, most likely, being that he's on an expiring deal. So I gave the Canadiens an overall grade of a C for this season so far. And I think that's pretty fair and warranted, given the fact that we've had revelations like Arbor Jackeye. He got another scrap last night. I didn't even mention the scrap he had before that in one of my last videos, but just the way the defense has been able to, and I know it's been abysmal at times, as has the penalty kill and the power play, et cetera, but the way they've weathered the storm in a rebuilding season and had these rookies all come in, Arbor Jackeye, Caden Gooley, Jordan Harris, Kovacevic now getting full-time minutes with the Canadiens. I mean, like David Savard, playing well, Joel Edmondson playing pretty well, Mike Matheson returned last night. Not rookies, but I mentioned the rookies first, and they've been able to weather this storm of playing in the pressure cooker of the Montreal Canadiens market and done pretty well for themselves so far. So I think also with the revelation of Sam Montembeault lately, the hockey he's been giving us has been fantastic. Caulfield and Suzuki. Let's talk about those guys for a quick second. Cole, 26 goals at the time of the recording of this video, will be robbery if he doesn't make the NHL All-Star team. Nick Suzuki taking on the captaincy, handling it pretty well. He's been struggling a bit late. We know that. But from what you're seeing from those guys, Kirby Dach. How did I not mention Kirby Dach yet, by the way? A couple of assists for Kirby last night. The Canadiens, I'm just jumping all over the place here, I know. But the Canadiens, and Kent Hughes mentioned this specifically, they still feel, especially after a game like last night, where Kirby Dach was able to produce 2 assists to his line mates as a centerman, they feel Kirby Dach long-term is a center. That's what they feel. He still needs work in the face-off circle. I think we can all agree to that. We all saw that last night versus Winnipeg. But Kirby Dach, I'm going to trust the development plan for these players, man, because they know more than we do. They know more than I do. So I'm just going to have to try to trust them. But I love what I'm seeing from Kirby Dach. He's 3rd in scoring at this point of the season. So your scoring leaders again for the Canadiens are Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Kirby Dach, your top line currently. And the plan is not to keep Kirby Dach there, but fortunately he's been able to produce with Nick and Cole, which is fantastic. Christian Dvorak is actually 4th somehow, but he is. That's great. Maybe another trade trip for the Canadiens as well. 7 goals, 13 assists for Christian Dvorak. And then somehow Monahan, after missing all those games, is 5th. Well, that's also because the Canadiens have had a lack of scoring lately. Shout out to Mike Hoffman on the nice snipe last night, too. That was a nice goal, by the way. And Evgeny Dadonov getting his 2 goals. Oh, man. What can you say? All right. Well, that's it, guys. I got nothing else to add to this. This was long enough, I think. And what we learned mostly from this press conference from Kent Hughes is that they are going to stay the course. They have a plan. They have a vision. They don't feel like it's been compromised at this point. They're excited about the upcoming players to the prospect system, i.e. Joshua Waugh, Owen Beck, who I will hopefully get to go talk to in about a month and a half, Philip Machar, who I'll hopefully get to talk to in about a week and a half or less. And I just think the Canadiens are still in a right position to draft really high this year. They are not sacrificing a whole lot. They got a ton of injuries, so it's kind of just falling into place in terms of this tank, if you will. But this is a way different vibe than last year. I want to say that this is way different vibe than last year before Marty got here. This culture, excuse me, this team that Marty's looking to build and that he's been building has been doing pretty well given the circumstances. So I give them a C, and I was going to give them a C minus, but I thought based on everything we've seen so far this year from all facets of how this Canadiens organization is playing and how the management's doing behind them, I'm giving them a C. That's all I got, guys. So leave me a comment down below and let me know your thoughts on this season so far, and we'll talk to you real soon, guys.